So today's topic of discussion is vaccination in the elderly. So I'll be discussing on these points. So we have to see whether vaccination is actually essential for elderly. What are the recommended vaccines that an elderly person has to take? And in current times, should everyone take a COVID vaccine right now, considering that we are seeing reports in the news that people, some are pro for vaccine, some are anti for vaccine, and all those things. Any side effects? And later I'll take on any question and answers that anyone has. So, do elderly actually need to be vaccinated? So, there are few points that actually everyone who is 50 plus should be considering while taking a vaccination. Actually, anyone who is above 50 has a weakened immune system. Weakened immune system means that they are more prone for infections. People more prone for infections are the ones who actually are more susceptible to infections like flu. It can be a seasonal flu, it can be swine flu, it can be any other flus, influenza type, different types of influenza viruses. They are more prone for pneumonia, they are more prone for shingles, they are more prone for each and every other, any other bacterial as well as viral infections also. So these two reasons are actually good enough for us for considering any vaccines that are recommended for the elderly. And if you may have read some news in the newspapers and all, uh, you might have read CDC's guidelines that any vaccine that we take actually decreases the risk of complications when someone gets that particular disease. So let's say if I'm vaccinated for flu vaccine and I get flu, chances of me getting hospitalized would be drastically reduced than a person who has not been vaccinated for flu. Uh, Vaccines even reduce the duration of hospital stay. So, in a large study that was done some years back, it was reported that almost 60% reduction in duration of hospital stay is seen in people who have taken flu vaccine as well as pneumococcal vaccines, and if they develop any complications related to those infections. So this slide actually I've prepared so that you will have an idea of what are the routine vaccines that an elderly has to take or are generally recommended by CDC for anyone who is typically 55 and above. So most important vaccine currently, apart from COVID vaccine, is still influenza vaccine, that is the flu vaccine. So anyone, the general recommendation is that anyone from 6 months of age. So if a child is 6 months and above, till the time we die, actually every year once, typically during the time of August to October, I generally recommend anyone to take an annual flu shot. So typically what we recommend is that prior to beginning of this flu season, typically winters in our country, I recommend that people should take a flu vaccine every year. So it should be taken by almost everyone. Typically, whoever is a chronically immunocompromised individual, let's say people having hypertension, diabetes, people having asthma, people having COPD, people who smoke, people who consume alcohol, all these groups should be ideally taking flu vaccine at least a year, at least once in a year, and that should be taken every year. So let's say somebody has forgotten to take the flu vaccine in August, September, October, and November, and this is January. So do you still have to take the flu vaccine? Yes, you obviously have to take that flu vaccine, even if there's a delay in taking the flu vaccine. So there have been some studies wherein people who have taken flu vaccine, there is decreased complications even associated with COVID also. So if any one of you hasn't taken the flu vaccine this year, I strongly recommend that at least for the initial, at least in the next few days, you can take a flu vaccine and maybe repeat the dose in August to October. So typically what happens is we have a new vaccine every year. So it is recommended that once in a year, everyone has to be taking this flu vaccine. The second vaccine would be pneumococcal vaccine. So pneumococcus typically causes very severe kind of infections in human beings. So it can lead to pneumonias, it can lead to septicemias, that is blood infections, it can lead to brain infection, meningitis also. So typical recommendations are that anyone who is 65 plus has to take one dose of PCV13. So there are two types of vaccine in pneumococcal vaccine. There is a PCV13 vaccine and there is a PPSV23 vaccine. So what general recommendations are that anyone who is 65 plus has to take one dose of PCV13, and they can take the second dose of PPSV23 at least 1 year apart. So at least a duration of 1 year has to be kept in when taking two different kinds of vaccine for pneumococcus. And anyone who is 65 below, if they are immunocompromised, they have chronic conditions, they have HIV, if for any reason their spleen was resected, uh, and they have hepatitis B, or if they have underwent any transplantations like kidney transplantation, liver transplantation, they are also recommended to take this pneumococcal vaccine, uh, if even if they are 65 and below. Typically, we give pneumococcal vaccine for children when they are 6, 10, 14 weeks old. And after that, general recommendations are that only people above 65 should be taking this vaccine. The next vaccine that people should take is shingles vaccine. So I'm not sure if everyone knows what shingles is, but typically if you have experienced chickenpox during your childhood, if there's a reactivation of zoster virus, what typically happens is small blisters of, you can see small rashes of blisters on the abdomen and different parts of the body, which leads to severe pain actually. That is what we call it as post-herpetic neuralgia. So anyone who is 50 and 55 above, it's advisable that they take single dose of Zostavax vaccine, so that even if they get shingles later in life, that will not be very debilitating. People actually complain of so much of pain that they can't even wear their shirts and all. So even slightest of touch would be leading to severe pain in individuals who are having shingles. So next three vaccines that are important, Tdap and Td. Typically, people usually take tetanus vaccines whenever they are getting any injuries or something. Apart from injuries and all, it is recommended that people typically take Td vaccine once in every 10 years. And any injuries that can lead to potential tetanus infections, any contact with rusty metals and all those things, it's advisable that people at least take booster dose of tetanus during those times. Rest of the vaccines, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, those are not mandatory vaccines. But if someone is previously unvaccinated, it is recommended that they take 016. That means 0 dose would be today's dose, 1 would be 1 month later, and 6 would be 6 months later. So 3 doses of hepatitis A and hepatitis B are recommended for previously unvaccinated individuals. Typically, if someone is a health worker, if someone comes in contact with blood and blood products, it is highly recommended that they take hepatitis B vaccine at least once in their lifetime, and maybe a booster dose can be taken once in every 5 to 10 years after checking the antibody levels in the body. The last one would be meningococcal vaccine. So this is also typically advised for people who are immunocompromised, who are having HIV infections, who have underwent any kidney transplantation, liver transplantation, who might have underwent any splenectomy for any health issues. Typically, anyone who is undergoing splenectomy, people undergoing splenectomy, we recommend that at least pneumococcal and meningococcal and Haemophilus influenza vaccine they need to be taken. So this is a small gist of all the vaccines that anyone who is 60 plus should be ideally taking. And if you ask me really what are the 3 to 4 most important ones, I will recommend influenza, pneumococcal, and shingles as the top three. And more or less tetanus in a country like India, I think most people typically take tetanus vaccine whenever they have any injuries and all. So by and large, everyone is typically protected of tetanus. So that is quite okay. And Hep A, Hep B, and meningococcal, that is not mandatory, but highly recommended for everyone to be taking that vaccine. Coming to the next slide regarding COVID vaccine. So basically, typically the same rules that we were talking about earlier applies for COVID vaccine also. That elderly people have a weakened immune system. They are more prone for COVID when compared to other age groups. There is high mortality in elderly group getting COVID than compared with other groups. Higher risk of people going on to ventilators and complication in elderly group people. And even in CDC, some studies and guidelines The CDC suggests that vaccinated individuals will definitely have reduced stay in a hospital even if they are getting complications of COVID. People with comorbidity should ideally be taking COVID vaccine. It can be any comorbidity. It can be related to lungs like COPD, interstitial lung diseases, diabetes, hypertension. People who might have undergone kidney transplantations, liver transplantations, or any such kind of things that reduces our immunity. I highly recommend those individuals at least to be taking this COVID vaccine. So currently we have two COVID vaccines that have been authorized in our country. Uh, the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine, that is Covishield, and the Bharat Biotech one, Covaxin. So currently we do not have a say in choosing the vaccine. Actually, whatever the government is giving, individuals will have to take that vaccine until that vaccine comes into open market for general population to be buying that. So in our phase 1, that will be beginning a couple of days later, this phase is only for healthcare workers and frontline workers. So maybe after that, the next group that will be getting vaccines is the elderly group itself. So you guys have to be registering yourself in that CoWIN software. Just give me 1 second. So everyone has to be registered on this CoWIN software, the CoWIN app, along with their details and all those things. They'll be given the date on which vaccination has to be given and the place where vaccination would be given to those people, and that can be taken up for vaccination. So typically two doses of vaccines, COVID vaccine is required, at least a 28 days interval. So first vaccine date and maybe 1 month later, the second vaccine would be given to the individual. And typically after 2 weeks of the second dose, CDC suggests that antibodies would be starting to appear in an individual who has taken COVID vaccine. So highly recommend anyone who is 50 plus to be getting registered on the platform and getting COVID vaccine. People should not be getting worried about side effects. People should not be getting worried about what if there are some cases of people getting encephalitis, some people getting some other things after getting COVID vaccine. So there might be, there haven't been any foolproof vaccines. So any vaccine can have a side effect, but side effects are not life-threatening for COVID vaccines. Generally, in studies, they haven't shown any major alarming side effects that should worry anyone from taking those vaccines. So general side effects that anyone can uh, expect would be slight fever, pain at the injection site, little bit of body ache, and maybe a little bit of chills and all those things. So these are general side effects that one can expect after taking any vaccine. It might not be COVID, it can be any vaccine that can lead to a little bit of fever and all those things. So who should avoid COVID vaccine? So are there any individuals who should be avoiding COVID vaccine? So let's say after taking first dose of COVID vaccine, if someone develops a severe anaphylactic reaction, so it's not simple hives and all. Severe anaphylactic reaction can be can be fall in BP, rapid rise of heart rate, difficulty in breathing, people collapsing. If someone has severe anaphylactic reaction, it is advisable that they speak to the medical officer on site whether they need to take the second vaccine dose or not. If someone has had COVID infection in the last couple of weeks, so they should be deferring the vaccine at least till recovery. So it is not advisable for anyone to take COVID vaccine when they are acutely infected with COVID or any other infection. So let's say I am having fever, which is not explainable by on the day of vaccination. I should be deferring that vaccine till I am having complete recovery of that particular infection. It can be COVID, it can be any other infection, it can be malaria, dengue, or anything. Till the time I am not getting completely recovered from that particular infection, I should be not taking this vaccine. Anyone who has had COVID and had taken plasma therapy in the last 90 days, CDC recommends that at least after 90 days only, COVID vaccine has to be taken. So there have been some reports that the existing antibodies in the human individual, in this particular individual, might be having a reaction with the vaccine, so that complete immunity might not be getting on administration of this vaccine. So it's recommended that people who have taken plasma therapy or any kind of antibodies for COVID should be avoiding COVID vaccine for 90 days, and after that they are eligible for taking COVID vaccine. Any acute illness, as I've told, people should be deferring the COVID vaccine till they are completely recovered of this illness. And apart from this, there are no general contraindications for COVID vaccine. Anyone who is having comorbidities like asthma, COPD, diabetes, hypertension, any heart illnesses, any angioplasties, any bypass graft surgeries, any transplantations, all these individuals should ideally be taking vaccines and COVID vaccine, so that even if we get COVID, it should not be life-threatening infection. We have always seen that anyone who is vaccinated, they typically have lesser duration of stays in hospital. They have lesser complication risk. So all these things have to be factored in while taking that vaccination. Vaccination is not some magic or anything that if you take COVID vaccine, you will not be getting COVID infection or anything. There is still chance that you will be getting COVID. There is still chance that you will be transmitting the disease to other individuals. So it's always recommended that I've been getting queries that once I get vaccinated, should I avoid wearing masks and all those things. So anyone who is vaccinated, he needs to take all the preventive measures that we have been taking till now: wearing mask, maintaining distance, avoiding people in general should be the best thing actually to prevent COVID infections. So all those things have to be followed irrespective of whether one is getting vaccinated or not. Apart from that, there are generally no other contraindications. Anyone who has an option to get COVID vaccine, I recommend that they should be vaccinated. Special populations, children should not be anyways. Currently, guidelines do not recommend children to be taking COVID vaccines right now. And for pregnant women also, we do not have clear-cut guidelines as of now. So till the time government of India doesn't release any guidelines for pregnancy, it's better that they avoid taking the COVID vaccine. Apart from these two groups, anyone who is having any chronic illnesses, irrespective of their age group, they should be considering taking the COVID vaccine. So I think that should be it regarding the small presentation on the vaccines that one should take. I have that chat visibility. So let me just, can we do for my mother who is 95 years old? The 95-year-old, anyone who is 60 plus, or I mean, anyone of any age group can take this COVID vaccine. There is no issue in that. What is definition of elderly? Currently, 50 plus will be considered elderly in this COVID scenario, and the guidelines that have come from government is that in the phase when they begin vaccinating for general population, that would be 50 plus, and in that group also people with 50 plus, people who are 50 plus and having comorbidities will be considered first when compared to 50 plus population who are not having any comorbidities. If one has no comorbidities, even then anyone, see, a requirement of vaccine is there for.
Dr. Aman, I do think we should read out the question because people who are on the Facebook Live do not see the chat, so it might be. So if you read out if one has no comorbidities, even then is vaccine required?
Vaccine is recommended irrespective of comorbidities. People with comorbidities should take the vaccine compulsorily, and it is highly recommended for people without comorbidities and who are still 50 plus to be taking the vaccine as and when they get the availability of the vaccine.
I'm going to skip the next question because actually it was answered by your slide.
I had written that name of the influenza vaccine. Still, anyways, Influvac, Vaxigrip, and there are a lot other vaccines also that can be taken.
All right. So the next question is, what happens if you do not have a record of when you took a vaccine? Is tetanus in excess dangerous?
This maintaining a record of vaccine is only essential in one vaccine currently, that is pneumococcal vaccine that we have talked about. So basically, since we have to maintain a gap of 1 year when someone is taking two different types of pneumococcal vaccine, PCV13 and PPSV23, 1 year duration has to be maintained. And if a doctor recommends PPSV23 vaccine to be taken in 2 doses, the doses have to be at least 5 years apart. So that has to be maintained. A log has to be maintained for that. Regarding TT vaccine, so there is no harm in taking multiple times also. It's not as if that's just a toxoid actually. It's not even a killed or live vaccine or anything. It's a toxoid, tetanus toxoid. So even if you do not have a record of TT vaccine, it is recommended that whenever someone gets injury, let's say even that is 2 months apart, it is still recommended that they take a TT vaccine whenever they are getting injuries or anything. They can take this TD once in 10 years, have a record of that, and whenever they get injured or anything, they can take a TT booster.
All right. The next question is about, I think you talked about a CoWIN app.
Yeah.
Is it something you have to download, or is it an online website? If you could, I'll put it on the group.
CoWIN app, it has to be downloaded and people have to register on that. I do not think that it has been open to general population yet, but as soon as that is open for registrations, people can register themselves. They need to provide Aadhaar number or PAN number or something, and they can get themselves registered. They need to carry that Aadhaar and PAN whenever they are going for vaccination, so that they can be identified. And only if they are registered on that CoWIN application, vaccine would be given to the individuals. It can be a doctor, it can be a nurse, or it can be anything. It has to be registered with government. So in the initial phase for doctors, that has been irrespective of the app that has been happening through DMHO and all. So they don't have to be registered on CoWIN. But for general population, for them to be taking vaccine, they have to be registered.
Okay, the next question that's come in is, how do you know if you have a weakened or a weak immune system?
Anyone, see, typically in this context of discussion, anyone who is 60 plus, I would say that they have a weak immune system. Anyone with chronic illnesses, they are more prone for illnesses. Anyone who has underwent any transplantations, they have a weak immune system. Anyone who is taking any medication such as steroids or immunomodulators, such as tacrolimus, mycophenolate mofetil, steroids such as prednisolone for any health issues, they are having weak immune system. Then these are the general categories. In our context today, I think anyone who is 50, 55 and above should be considering themselves as prone for infections. They will not be having immune system as someone who is around 30, 35-year-old. So we'll consider these groups as people who are having weak immunity.
All right. Are there any, are we supposed to go through any tests before taking the COVID vaccine?
Tests are not required before taking the vaccine. The only thing is that if you are feeling okay on that particular day, if you haven't had any COVID infection in the last couple of weeks, you did not have any acute illnesses like fever, diarrhea, or anything on the day of vaccination, I think you are good to take the vaccine.
And then I think you may have already answered this when you were doing your talk, but I'm going to ask it again. People with lung issues like ILD or COPD, can they take the vaccine, or is it better?
People with ILD and all, they are supposed to, they are actually recommended. I mean, it is highly recommended that they take COVID vaccine. Because anyone who is having any interstitial lung disease or asthma, COPD, if they are smokers and all, obviously once they get infected, it's highly, I mean, there's a high chance that they might lead to more amount of ground glass opacities in the lungs, more amount of complications. They'll be more prone for requiring mechanical ventilation and all those things. So it is highly recommended that those population definitely take COVID vaccine. And along with COVID vaccine, even flu vaccine and pneumococcal vaccine is highly recommended for those individuals.
So from what I understand from your talk is that the COVID vaccine is there to reduce the severity if we are infected.
Yes. So it might not, see, any vaccine doesn't provide absolute immunity to any disease. So we need to remember that. So it should not be as if after taking 2 doses, somebody says that I've taken the vaccine, I should not be getting COVID infection. So people still will get COVID infections after taking vaccination. It's that severity of the disease will be less. Maybe infectivity rate will also be reduced further. So risk of transmission might be less. But along with vaccine, if we are following the safety measures like maintaining hand hygiene, maintaining face hygiene, maintaining social distancing, wearing masks and all, the risk of transmission will be drastically lowered when compared to the current times without vaccine. But anyway, see, key takeaways, I'll just repeat the key takeaways. I strongly recommend that anyone who is 60 plus should be taking the vaccine. Do not read into newspaper reports and all those things that one case happened or such kind of a thing. Some case of encephalitis happened, someone died. Most of the things are they are not substantiated by health authorities and all. So unless there is a particular guideline given by either CDC or by Government of India, that vaccine should not be taken or this vaccine will not be continued, it is strongly recommended that people having comorbidities, people who are 50 plus should be considering taking the vaccine. See, in any case, vaccine is not mandatory. It is up to an individual to decide whether he has to take that vaccine or not. So nobody is going to force anyone to take this vaccine. So still, if anyone has any doubts regarding the vaccination, maybe they can postpone their vaccination, but generally that is not recommended.